Hi, and welcome to Coach's Corner, where systems matter and both personal and professional learning and development is beneficial for everyone and essential for some. As always, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Let's get started.
All right, hey guys, today we're here with Brett Zanis, or better known as Coach Little Z23, and I'm going to give a brief introduction about himself, and then he's going to tell you a little bit about himself as well. So to start off, he was a teacher. Then he moved into building one of the best after-school programs in the country. And then he went into being a business owner of multiple different businesses. It's amazing what he's accomplished in his short time. I mean, I don't even know how he's done it, but he'll explain a little bit more about himself. He was also a coach at the elementary level, high school level, college level, and even a professional athlete. So as you can see, he's done it all. It's pretty amazing, and you're going to hear a little bit more about what he's done to help him be successful, and maybe he can help you. So if you talk a little bit about yourself, Brett.
Yeah, so, I grew up in a traditional family, and, well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate it. Grew up in a traditional family. I'd call it middle class. Both my parents were teachers, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher at a very young age. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to coach. And I used to hang out with my mom a lot, and so she was, always working and teaching and stuff. And she would do her lesson plans, and I'd do my lesson plans. Mine looked like sports plays.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me, and hers were actual lesson plans. And so I just knew from a very young age what I wanted to be able to do. I wanted to be the best athlete that the history had ever known. Yeah. But I probably shouldn't have been called Little Z. I should have been called Tiny Z. And so I started to develop hacks, what I would now call systems, but, habits, routines, processes, procedures, customs, different things of that nature. And I think that has really led to a lot of my successes.
Awesome. And so I know today we're going to talk about the holistic system.
Correct.
So if you could just touch the bases on what that is, and we'll take a deeper dive.
Sure. So the holistic system, it came about like everything else, by necessity, right?
Yeah.
Because I believe that systems, they quicken things up. It helps you to give a nice level of both quality and quantity together. Mm-hmm. And so it starts with spiritual religion, and then it goes into family, friends, and then health, physical. And we'll probably talk about this at a later time, the order of it. But I used to want to know, should I flip those two? And I'll tell you more about that, I'm sure, later. And then that goes into personal, social, and then finally career material.
Got it. Okay. And so before we take a deeper dive in, spiritual religion, all that, I'm going to ask you some overall questions of just about the holistic system.
Sure.
So the first question is, which one has been the toughest for you?
I don't know. I really don't look at life like whether it's tough or it's not. It just has to get done.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
So I think I developed that mentality when I was young. My mom, she didn't play around, neither did my dad. And it was like, just get things done and get things done for people. Excuse me. And so there wasn't something that was tough or not tough, but I think maybe a good way to say it is things took longer.
Okay.
So I used to do, what they count as long division. And so if you imagine a 4 divided into a 4, I used to ask the kids all the time, I'd put that up on the board, and then I would put up 4 divided by 4, and I go 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4 forever. Right. I did like 24s. And I go, which one's more difficult? And they'd always say, of course, the longer one. Yeah. I said, that's not true. It's not more difficult or tougher, as you said. Right. What it is, it's going to take you longer.
Longer, right.
So that's, how I would answer that.
Got it. Okay. Very interesting, and thank you for that analogy, the 4.4444.
Yeah, I used to get a lot of kids on that, and it was funny because when I was teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at the same time, the 8th graders knew what I was doing, so they would always get a nice chuckle out of that.
That's so funny. And so my second question is, so you're a smart guy. I don't know. I think they'll tell over this camera over this video you will as well.
Time out. Here's a few $100, few C notes.
And so, like you said, you went spiritual religion, family, friends, health, physical, personal, social, career, material.
Yeah.
There was a reason for that. Did you order those because that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of most important, or why did you do that order in specific?
Yeah, I try to start with what makes sense, and to me, what makes sense is if I only had one shot at something, what would I do? I'd rather spend time with Jesus than anybody else.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always play out. Right.
Right.
And I think that, people like to talk about balance, and let's say especially in these 5 areas.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right.
Okay.
I believe in harmony. So when you look at, let's say, an orchestra,
Yeah.
sometimes the flutes are going off, right? And then sometimes they have to be really low. Sometimes the trumpets are blaring, sometimes the drums, but they're not usually all going all at once. And that's the same thing with us. If we were all going in all 5 of these areas all at once, we would collapse.
Got it.
Now, they may do it the crescendo, I think. I'm not a music guy, sorry. But I think the crescendo at the end, they may all be up at that high level, and then it falls down. And we may have to do that as well. But I think a lot of times it's not like that. So when my mom had a problem a few years back and she almost died, I was 100% in with her. I didn't care about 10 businesses.
Yeah.
I didn't care about my wife. I didn't care about my kids. I didn't, I was talking to Jesus, like, help.
Right.
But I just really was focused right there. So maybe I shouldn't say I didn't care about those people, but I focused on my mom, and that was for about a 30-day period.
Wow. Well, first off, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad that she's safe now and doing
She
better.
is. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And so, with, I asked you what the toughest was, now it was the longest. What is either the easiest or the one that you enjoy the most of the 5?
I don't know. I would probably say I enjoy the Bible.
Okay.
It's very practical to me. I'm not a big prayer, mainly because I don't hear anything back. Sorry, Jesus. The lightning bolt, please shoot his direction. But I really get a lot of interaction, believe it or not, with just reading the Bible, because I think, I call a lot of the parables or different things like that touch points.
Yeah.
And I think that you can imagine you're that person and you can kind of get in there. So I enjoy that probably the best out of everything.
Got it. Well, I think this is a good segue into talking about spiritual religion.
Okay.
So,
there you go. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Here,
thank
now
you.
give me my money back, right?
Exactly. So what does spiritual religion look for you?
Well, I think it looks like, it's different for everybody, but for me in particular, it's about the Trinity and Jesus Christ. And I think there's the goal.
Yeah.
And I think the end goal, which is always kind of weird for me, seems kind of selfish, and yet that's the opposite of what Jesus is telling us to do, which is, I want to get to heaven, I want to walk the golden streets, I want to do all of those things. But I try to break down any system into 2 things. What's my goal, and then what are my activities what's my part, so to speak, in being able to get to that goal or those goals.
Okay, got it. And so, you said the Trinity, Jesus Christ, God, Holy Spirit. What if someone's not Christian? Can they still follow the spiritual religious with their different religion?
Absolutely. I mean, this is made for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're young or old. We would modify it if you were younger, and you may bolster it up if you're older, or if you're super ambitious, you would bolster it up, or if you're less, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just telling you my personal preference. You could be an atheist, and this system will still work for you.
Gotcha.
You can, I don't know how many different religions are out there, but I'm sure there's quite a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll work for everybody and anybody.
Oh.
I call it the big E, everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And so with spiritual religion, and you said, your goals are more ambitious than others, or the other way. What does that look like? Are you talking like prayer, Bible stuff? Like, what is it that you do in your spiritual religion?
Yeah. So my activities.
Yeah.
So usually I'll get up, I'll say a quick prayer before even my feet hit the ground.
Okay.
And just thank you for waking me up.
Yeah.
Right. And I like that. And I have little triggers that I do. God's number is 7.
Oh, okay.
And so I do little quirky things sometimes. Like I won't get out of bed until it says, 4:47 in the morning, or a multiple of that, like 21, 3, 7, just weird stuff like that. But I just have triggers, I think, when we talk about praying over a meal, that's a trigger.
Yeah.
But I think about him a lot. It says, pray unceasingly. I do that a lot.
Okay.
But I do my formal Bible study. I usually do that 2 different directions. I have a Sabbath school thing that I do, and then there's an e-manna thing that I read. It's just a daily devotional.
Okay.
And then I do my prayer, and I have that both a canned one that I have as well as just what's going on.
Yeah.
And then from there. I'm not going to church as much as I used to, but I used to go to church, and then Sunday school at one time, and then Sabbath school.
Yeah.
I used to try to witness. I listen to a bunch of sermons and self-help tapes, but specifically for the spiritual religious, I like listening to sermons,
Yeah.
Topical or otherwise. So that's the main stuff that I do in that particular section.
Got it. Okay. And so for, let's say someone like me who's just getting started, right?
Yeah.
What would you suggest I would start with?
I think the first thing that if you have an interest in God or Buddha or whatever you deem as the man, so to speak, or the woman, it could be the woman, either way. I think that what I did is I said, what am I wanting to accomplish? And I said, I want to build a relationship. So I just started asking myself questions. I said, well, how would you build a relationship? And I came up with 3 things: time, care, and belief.
Okay.
And then I define those things as time, spend time with them in Bible study, in prayer, in going to church, in talking to others, in witnessing. Just spend time, just like you and I are spending time together.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to develop more of a relationship.
Right.
And that's what I want with these guys as well.
Yeah.
As we spend more time together, we're going to have that relationship.
Yeah.
And then the care part is that if you were to ask me to do something for you, that I take 100% ownership of that, and I'm very thoughtful, and I get it done for you.
Yeah.
That means I care about you. And if I can't for some reason, I would let you know, hey, I can't do anything about that.
Right.
And then the last one is belief, and that one's simple. As long as we're talking, as long as we're still hanging out, as long as we're still, that means I believe. I believe in you. No matter how mad, upset, happy, anywhere in between, that's where that would go.
Got it. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. So, I asked that, for myself as well, but I think that, the audience as well can put themselves in my shoes and be like, okay, yes, here's what I can do.
I hope so.
Yeah, so thank you. Is there anything that I didn't ask you in spiritual religion, that, you'd like to talk about more?
No, I just think I have another system called the individual system, and it starts with mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are an atheist or, you don't believe certain things, you can almost replace it a little bit with mindset. It's not the same.
Okay.
But, do a meditation or do something. Get in touch with yourself and just kind of get quiet.
Okay.
Right? We're always out there going and doing. We're human doings. We're not human beings. Right. And so it's like no, dyslexic. That's not the case. Right. We're human beings.
Yeah.
We're not human doings, but we're running around all the time. We're doing. It's like, just relax, chill out.
Yeah.
Give yourself some time to just be.
Right. Wow. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. That's awesome. So going into family and friends, how do you break that down? And do you break that down separately or together?
Yeah, so, I try to do things really at a granular level.
Okay.
So that what I mean by that is 1.1, 1.11, 1.1, if need be.
Yeah.
But I also like to go on the other side, which is to talk about just theory and different things like that. And then everywhere in between, right?
Yeah.
So I look at it and I think, the Lakers, let's say, assistant coaches, they got to break things down at probably a granular level sometimes, right?
Right.
So there's the basic 4 things you do to shoot a bucket, but they may break it down and say, no, you got to take that, hand through your eye. You got to put your hand in the bucket. You got to finish with full extension. You got to, right?
Yeah.
Versus the head coach, he didn't have time for that. Right? He can't get into all that. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't ever.
Right.
But he's talking about schematics and plays and philosophies, and I got to figure this out. This, I got to help with this salary cap potentially, or maybe that's the GM.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that are being able to go on there. So with family, friends, that's the first, kind of 2 big buckets.
Got it.
And then under family, I think, at first we have what I call the immediate family. And at first that looks like it would be me and then my mom. And then I had 2 brothers. So the 5 of us were immediate family.
Right.
So then when I left the family and went and married my wife, then it was just my wife and I that I would call the immediate family.
Okay.
And then when I had kids, they became the immediate family.
Got
so
it.
then my mom and dad and my brothers moved one over. Right,
Okay.
which I call the expanded family. Okay,
Got it.
and so then you have that, and then you have all the other, which I call the extended family: cousins, aunties, grandmothers, all of that kind of stuff. But there would be some sort of a blood connection there, so it's truly family.
Right.
It's not somebody that was your best buddy that you call family.
Okay, got it. And so with family, you said you moved out had your wife, and then she became part of your immediate family.
Yes.
And then you had your kids.
Mm-hmm.
So when, let's say, your kid moves out,
Yeah.
has kids of his own, is he still part of your immediate family, or does he then move to your extended family?
So he would always be part of my immediate family.
Okay.
But for him,
Right.
when he gets to somebody else, then, let's say he marries who or whomever,
Right.
then he starts his own immediate family.
Right.
And so, but he would technically be part of our immediate family, even if he moved out.
Uh-huh.
But once he gets married, then it changes.
Got it. Okay. That's awesome. I didn't, that's cool to think. And then another question. So when, your son, daughter, whoever marries, right, and then their family comes in, do they become part of your extended family as well?
Yeah, or what I would call expanded.
Or, expanded. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would call them as part of one moreover as part of my expanded family.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the reason I do that is because typically it's how much time you're going to be able to spend with each of them.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So after we talk about family, then you have friends. I break that down: primary, secondary, tertiary. It's
Yeah.
not because I don't like this person that's a tertiary as much as I do my primary. It's
Right.
just that I spend more time with my primaries.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And then when you have the last part of it, which is kind of acquaintances, or what I call people that you work with or used to work with.
Yeah.
That group, it's just a time thing more than anything. And then I have little systems that I do within there, what I call constant contact. Don't ask my kids about that because they hate those two words, because they've been practicing it since they've been like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. And but what that does is to just have a formal schedule, because life's busy, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a formal schedule to call your papu,
Yeah.
by the way, when was the last time you called your papu?
It's been a long time.
Exactly.
Right.
And so that's why I put it into a system. So even if that person's the low end of the totem pole, so to
Yeah.
speak, where you can spend your time,
Yeah.
maybe it's quarterly that you would have a constant contact, meaning you would make a contact with them.
Okay.
Right? Maybe it's biannually. Maybe it's just yearly for certain people that you would send a Christmas card or something like that.
Yeah.
Versus the people that are on this side of the continuum,
Yeah.
right? Then you're going to be spending a lot of time with them, and you probably don't need a formal, calendar, so to speak. But it's
Right.
still nice to have, because I know I look up sometimes. I'm working so much and so hard as the audience is.
Yeah.
Everybody's going 150 miles per hour,
Right.
and you look up and you're like, did I talk to my wife today?
Right.
I mean, I slept right next to her.
Yeah.
I think I saw her this morning, but I don't know that, right?
Yeah.
And so this just allows that to kind of be a set it and forget it.
Got it. That was, I was going to bring up constant contact next. So I'm glad you did
Yeah.
that. That worked out perfect. Another one. Thank
You've
you.
heard of constant contact?
Yeah, I have. I read about it, so I was like, you know what? I got to ask you about that. When it comes to constant contact, would you say that that's something that you probably daily do, but even though it's not, like written down, so you're always in contact with your wife, but you would make it a special point to call someone? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's both and, right? I
Okay.
think that we live in an informal and a formalized world.
Right.
I just know for me, once I formalize it, even if I don't do it, it's there.
Okay.
And I could quickly fall back to it.
Yeah.
If it's not there, then I probably have zero chance for that to happen. I tell people all the time on the individual system, if you don't carry a task or to-do list, the chances of you getting something done, especially for somebody else, is about under 50%.
Right.
It's 50% or less.
Yeah.
If you have it on there, then you maybe have a 70 or 80% chance. Now, the reality is you may not get to it at all, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But at least you have an idea that it could be there.
Got it.
That may be a papu or a granny or a grandma or a G-ma or a whatever.
Yeah.
They may need that. Maybe
Yeah.
a timely phone call. Oh, I'm so happy that I got to talk to
Yeah.
because a lot of times as people get retired and they're older and different things,
Right.
they don't have as much to do. They don't have that daily interaction with their coworkers or acquaintances or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think with, this whole COVID situation, do you think that should have been a better whatever for people to talk to their family and stuff? And do you think people took that time to talk to their family?
I hope so. I hope we all did. I mean, there's zero excuses.
Right.
There's Zoom, there's, I don't know, Google Meetup, there's
Right.
FaceTime, there's just a call, there's a text. I mean, there's no reason in the world that we shouldn't be taking advantage of, being with our loved ones, talking with them, so on and so forth.
Right.
And I realize, again, it's a busy world, and I get it.
Yeah.
But there's no reason to not have some kind of time with them on a regular basis. And I think that COVID, with all the bad things that's happened, with people's health, and I'm sorry if anybody's somebody close to them has passed away or any of that stuff. I really do, that would, that kills me for you. But in the same breath, I think there's a lot of great things that can happen from that as well.
Right.
And so I just think we always have to look at the positive side.
Yeah.
If somebody gives me lemons, I'm making lemonade.
Right.
I'm going to figure out a way to make lemonade or try to make it the best situation that we can. So I'm going to mourn, and then I'm going to move on and try to make something out of that.
Got it. Another great life lesson. Thank you. Appreciate that. And then with going into friends now aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, you said primary, secondary, and tertiary.
Yes.
Now, I know that you also talked about time, care, and belief.
Yes.
So a tertiary friend is possible to move into a primary friend. Is that correct?
Sure. I mean, there's a bunch of different situations to where that could happen, right? You start working with them, or somehow you just become tight. I know my oldest son, he has said that since he's moved out. Oh, I've become close with this guy, or I've become closer.
Yeah.
Right? And so I call, sometimes there's proximity friends.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you usually are working with.
Right.
And then there's your friends for life. So, and then I think the other thing is too, are you a one-person person? Or do you like a bunch of people, right?
Okay.
So I was a one-person person. Like, I had my best buddy, Todd. Yo, Todd, go Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
From the time basically we were in kindergarten, we were pretty inseparable. And even to this day, 47 years later, we're tight.
Right.
And so, but I just had one person.
Right.
I know some of my other friends, they go, oh, that's my best friend, that's my best friend, that's my... Great, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Whatever works for people,
Yeah.
I think is important, to be able to know and understand. Self-awareness, right? Understand you.
Yeah.
Because I think, sometimes, especially when we're younger, we go, oh, I only have one friend. I need to go get a bunch. No, maybe you don't need to get a bunch of other
Right.
friends.
Yeah.
Why? If that's what you dig and that's what you like. I've always been kind of a one-person person.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the tertiaries,
Yeah.
for me, I keep in contact with them pretty good because maybe I only have like two friends.
Right.
Yeah, my wife and you, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
Yeah.
And so, two more questions from that I can think of, and maybe another one will pop up. My first one is that I read that your son, your youngest son, kind of just sticks to himself. He hangs out in his room, you said, doesn't like to do. So when it comes to friends, he probably doesn't do much with that. Is that true?
It is true, and this is where it's a little bit tough, right?
Yeah.
So when my kids used to bring home, their report card, A's, B's, C's.
Yeah.
My wife said, "Why'd you get a C?" or whatever.
Right.
I just talked about the A's most of the time.
Yeah.
So, but here goes the other part of it. So with him in particular, that's okay. He likes to be by himself. He's very creative. He does music. He spends, a lot of these music guys, they spend billions of hours in, I don't know what you guys call that, but the media room or studio. Yeah, thank you. They spend, and they're, they could be by themselves. They could be with a couple people.
Right.
Other, producers or artists, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's great. But we also would say, hey, you have to spend at least an hour with us for family time as well.
Got it.
So we would try to pull him out of that, but still honor and understand that's the way he rolls.
Right.
Right. We all need to roll the way we roll.
Got it. And so, that opens up another question. So, what is some advice that you would give to parents or friends that, run into that problem that, they're close with someone, but they just like to be by themselves? It's nothing personal, it's just how they roll. What would you give them?
Well, I mean, as a former teacher, and we've helped, tens of millions of kids now with one of my businesses, Consult for Kids, I always try to ask them, what do you want? And then the next question is, why do you want them? Okay. I think a lot of time parents have an idea that I don't know how that works. Maybe something like that. I think that parents a lot of time it's like they're an extension. Their kids are an extension of them. Uh-huh. So let's say I wanted to be the best athlete in the world. Well, I obviously wasn't, thanks to you, LeBron, right, or whoever.
Yeah.
So then I want my kid. Oh, he's going to be the best at this.
Right.
And it's like, and I used to have to counsel them all the time, Dr. Phil style, and say, hey, why do you want that? Well, and I said, are you sure it's for them? Because it really seems like it's about you. And so that would be kind of the dynamics that I would want to figure out what's going on there.
Yeah.
And then the second part to that is, I think that a lot of times we think in either or.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of both and. So either or says he can either be with us or he can be without us.
Right.
He can either be in his room or he can be out with us. I don't think that's life. I think
Right.
life's a lot of both and.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a very black and white thinker.
Right.
So for me to say it,
I'll tell you something.
yeah, I think the world's pretty darn gray out there.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that one. And so then that moves into my question of friends
Yeah.
becoming family.
Yeah.
Is it, you know, your best friend, you've been like this for 47 years. So in a lot of ways, you probably consider him family. Is that true?
Yeah, and so that's where you're stretching, right? So
Right.
here's the hard line of a
Yeah.
system, but the reality is you stretch it,
Got
right?
it.
And so for me, or for somebody else, let's say you have a couple brothers and you don't talk to them anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I was I had two people, now I have just me, so
Right.
you would kind of bring people into that, and I think that that's going to be part of it. I think that the way things are going, unfortunately, in our world,
Yeah.
a lot of siblings are fighting and don't talk to each other and don't speak.
Right.
So now all of a sudden the 20 people at Thanksgiving are down to 10.
Right.
But that's happening in the family down the street and your best friend and so on and so forth. So you may bring them in and say, hey, you want to do Thanksgiving with us? And in the end, ultimately, that does kind of become part of your
family. Right.
So, that's just one of the nuances of the system that you would have, obviously, the parameters to be able to figure out and stretch and change and adjust to what makes sense.
Right.
Always do what makes sense, right?
Yeah, right. And so, was there anything in the family friends that I should ask you that I didn't, or something that you would like to tell the audience that, I didn't ask you about?
Yeah, the only thing that I would just say is a quick story, and this is not just in that arena, but overall. I don't know if you remember, but the little girl goes up to the mom and says, hey, why does grandma cut the back part of or I think it was, why do you cut the back part of the ham off?
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know, go ask your grandma.
Right.
And grandma said, I don't know, go ask the great grandma. And great grandma said, I don't know why those idiots did it,
Yeah.
but I did it because my pen was too short. Well, I think that's what happens is we do things based off of tradition all the time, especially with family.
Yeah.
This is the way we roll. Well, we've always done things, let's say for Christmas time, we've always as immediate family, we've always done open Christmas presents in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, but then your kids leave and their spouse's situation is that's their time slot too.
Right.
So then you may have to adjust, you may have to move around, you may have to, right?
Right.
And then people get hurt about it.
Yeah.
Right? And they're mad. Well, why do we have to do, and it's like, look, I don't like compromise because I think compromise is two people both getting what they don't want.
Okay.
And I think consensus is the word we're looking for, which, I may have to change and alter a little bit,
Yeah.
but I'm not totally getting what I don't want. And so the same thing over here. And I think that, we can learn to come together better than we do sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that would be important.
Got it. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so then moving into health physical. Right? I think that's in the name.
Yeah.
Health physical. So
Yes,
that
sir.
includes, working out, drinking water, everything like that. But what are the things that you wouldn't think that are in health physical?
I don't know about things that I would think that weren't, but I just have like 7 or 8 things that I believe are in there.
Okay.
So I believe sleep, and I think that there's a lot around that, and science is catching up, or maybe we're catching up to science. That's a big deal. I saw a study, a couple years ago, and they did somebody that was sleep deprived and
Okay.
somebody that was drinking alcohol,
Uh-huh.
and then they did like a simulator, driving test.
Yeah.
The guy that was sleep deprived was way worse than the guy that had alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I think there's a lot of health and science around that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think sleep's important. I think hydration's important. I think a lot of times we, especially as athletes, we go pound a Gatorade and it's like, hey, just water.
Right.
Pound some water for
Yeah.
a while, right? There's nothing better than water.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think hydration, and I think that's critically important.
Yeah.
And then from there, I think there's the normal stuff. I think there's consumption.
Right.
What are you eating, not eating, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I think there's the cardio that we all need to do.
Yeah.
I think there's strength training, which has been proven out that that's, helpful.
Yeah.
I think there's, stretching, suppleness, different things of that nature.
Yeah.
Now they're getting into some little bit wild stuff, like I forget what it's called, but the Reebok CrossFit.
Oh, yeah.
And then I see Conor McGregor, crazy man. He's walking on the ground like like a bear or giraffe or something. So but either way, it's movement. It's having things go.
Yeah.
I think that we live a sedentary life. And I think that's why things like, I don't know what they're called, but the Peloton that, where you get to raise your desk up. And,
Yeah.
or they have the treadmills now with
Yeah.
them. And I just think we need to get up and we need to move.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so, with that that could be a long, that's an all-day thing. Health physical, right, from sleeping to working out. So how do you find the time to do all of it when you're working 14, 15, 16, however many hours you're working in a day? Because I know it's a lot.
Yeah, and that's not to mention the mental and emotional, psychological aspect of health physical. It's not just a physical
Right.
health, right? It's all of those things. But yeah, I think it's tough, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I believe in systems. That's
Yeah.
why I believe in structures. Because even if I miss something,
Yeah.
I know I missed it. So do I want to double up on it the next day? Or do I just want to go, hey, life happens,
Right.
right, so to speak. But it gives me a chance to know
Right.
that I'm choosing
Yeah.
to not do that. And I'm choosing not to do that, whether that be formally or informally. But it's not that I'm oblivious.
Right.
I know what's going on over here.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's what's critically important about any kind of system, no matter what it is.
Right. And so, I know that you're not a health expert, but I know that you've researched a lot.
Are you telling me my physique is...
No, but I know that you've researched a lot, just
Yeah.
everything, but you know a lot. What would you say that someone should get an hour's worth of sleep? When they're going to sleep, what should they shoot for?
I think it should be 8 hours.
Okay.
And I think it should be consistent. So 10 to 6 or 9 to 5 or...
so it's scheduled sleep time, not
Yeah.
12 to 8 one day and then
Yeah.
10 to... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that's important. And then I think also, if you're just tired, see if you can take a nap. Even if you just lay down and just relax and chill out. I know my father-in-law, who's in great health, that was his MO. He worked his tail off till noon. He'd come home and eat, and he would take a nap for 20 minutes or whatever, power nap.
Oh, yeah.
And then, and he was suit and tie guy. He had to take all that off, go to,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then, and then he'd go back to work. And he's a pretty healthy dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. And so, I know that, in the past you said that, when you're running behind, you'll, put things together or, you'll do them at the same time. When you're running late and you need to get a workout in or a cardio in, will you add things to that to make it go faster, or will you just double up, or, how does that work?
Yeah, so I'll grab a Twinkie.
Okay.
And I'll eat, 'cause I got to eat. Consumption's part of it.
Yeah.
While I'm walking to grab the soda out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you can, or you do less. So, man, I was going to do 20 reps today, and so I'm going to do 10 of each, right?
Got
Which
it.
maybe saves 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to, instead of drinking 120 ounces of water today, I know that I'm going to be, filming for 8 hours straight, and I don't want to have to go, excuse me, got to go take a tinkle break,
Right.
right? And so you would do a little bit less of that. So I think you just, you understand that it's there, you do the best that you can, and you don't get upset and mad about it if you can't get there. And if you do get upset and mad, that's fine. I get upset and mad at myself, but
Yeah.
it doesn't linger.
Right.
Like I'm like, okay, I'm like a quarterback who threw an interception,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, okay, I threw an interception. I'm gonna score 3 TDs in a minute.
Yeah.
So in your, right? That's
Yeah.
the way I kind of look at it. But to me, with the audience, whatever you guys think, works for you, is important. But I think to not have a plan, to not have a structure,
Sure.
to not have a system, to not have processes, procedures, customs, habits, rituals. And then the big thing I always say to people I talk with is, maybe you have those and they're great. Maybe you have them and they're no good. Going back to the ham story.
Yeah.
If you're doing things based off of tradition and it doesn't make sense, stop.
Right.
Stop doing that. Yeah. Do something different.
Right.
Do something that makes sense. 1 + 1 will always be 2.
Yeah.
Right? We're not trying to, figure out how to make it 7 or 19 or 400. No. Some things are just pretty, well, black and white. And so I always say, control the things you can control. Try to influence the things that you can't control. And if all else fails, just get on your knees and pray a whole bunch.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I'm going to be asking you kind of a tougher question because, like I said, I know
Wait a minute. I got to button up for the tough questions.
I know that you're not an expert in this, but, I have a roommate who's a night owl.
Okay.
So he can, he can go from sleep to 1 to 5 in the morning, in 4 hours, and he can be fine. And he can do that consistently, and then maybe one day he'll get 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there's people out there, just
Sure.
like that, right? So, what is your advice to them, or do you not really have any advice for them, or, yeah.
Well, I think that's not optimal.
Right.
But I also think there's freaks of nature.
Right.
Right? Go look around. I've seen some giraffes that are like, that's not a giraffe, that's a freaking dinosaur.
Right.
Right? Go look at the NFL.
Yeah.
There's some freaky dudes out there. So I think that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Got it.
But I don't think that's optimal. I think that sleep's important. And I think the older you get, the less sleep that you need sometimes. And so I think there's always nuances, right?
Right.
There's nothing in life that's truly just like, black and white, other than I guess you're going to die and pay taxes.
Yeah.
Right? But there's a lot of, shades of the black, which, starts turning into grays and different things.
Yeah.
So I would just say for somebody like that, if they can, on their days off or, different things of that nature, if you're working late or whatever.
Yeah.
If you can't get, 7 days a week, 24/7, 365 in a rhythm, 10 to 6, whatever. Do the best you can on as many days as you can.
Got it. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And I'm, like I said, I
Yeah,
think
tell him that. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Malik.
Yeah.
Malik, that's going to cost you at least 100. I tell the people the joke about the saying that the lady, she drives up to the mechanic and her car's going click, 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 click.
Oh,
click,
yeah.
Right? And so the mechanic opens up the door and looks in and goes, hey, excuse me, will you hand me my screwdriver and that hammer? She's like, okay. And he does something, goes click. And then he goes, will you put those 2 things back where you got them? She's like, yeah. And then he hands her $100. That's the bill for the work that he did.
Right.
She's like, $100? He goes, yeah, you're right. He said, I should have charged you more for my tools, but I didn't. I charged you $1 for the hammer.
Yeah.
I charged you $1 for the screwdriver, and I charged you $98
Right.
on where to hit it.
Right.
Right? And I think that, that's where we're at, right? Or I don't know if you've heard the saying before about the old bull and the young bull at the top of the mountain. And there's a bunch of heifers down at the bottom.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the young bulls, and sometimes the old bulls too, but the young bulls get impatient.
Right.
And so the young bull says, hey, I want to run down there and have sex with one of those heifers. And the old bull says, well, we could just walk down and have sex with all of them.
Right.
Right? And so I think that it's that tradition sometimes dictates things that don't make sense.
Right.
So let's get away from that.
Yeah, got it. And so, I think that, maybe I'm putting words into your mouth. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. You said that, 8 hours of sleep is optimal and probably the most important out of health and health physical. Is that correct?
I think so. Obviously you have to have water and get hydrated too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I think of Jesus 40 days, 40 nights without eating and stuff, but you have to have water. I don't know the exact whatever. I think it's like 4 or 5 days and you're in big trouble.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
I think those 2 things are probably, very critical.
Gotcha. So, if you guys don't learn anything else, start sleeping well, guys. It's important. Like you said, it's worse than driving drunk. That'll tell you something.
Yeah, and put your mouth on the tap water.
Yeah.
Tap water's still good. Sorry about the bottled water industry.
Yeah. So with run us through something like a workout of yours, like a strength workout for you.
Well, it was interesting because I trained with my son, who's a professional athlete.
Okay.
And so I was an idiot, right? Like
Okay.
I was training because you train differently if you're a bodybuilder or if you're a grandma or whatever.
Right.
You're still doing the same. It's basically 12 muscles we have. Right.
Yeah.
Forearm, bicep, tricep, deltoid traps,
Yeah.
lat muscles, you got your obliques, and some of them have bigger than others. You have your chest, then you have your 3 leg muscles, calf, hamstring, and thighs, right?
Yeah.
But the way that you train them would be different.
Right.
So if you're a bodybuilder, you're going to keep those movements to where, you want to keep things really tight.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about as an athlete, you want to keep long because you don't want something to pop when you're, going 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Plus, you want to do explosive things like Olympic lifts, snatches, clean and jerks, cleans, different things of that nature.
Yeah.
So when I was training my son,
Yeah.
he's a decathlete, I would do his workout.
Oh.
Not super smart.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I already have a bad neck from playing football.
Right.
I was so little, you had to go head first into anything and,
Yeah.
throw your body at stuff and so on and so forth. But that's
Wow.
what we would do. We would do those major 4 lifts, so squats, clean, snatches, and then we did clean and jerk just for quickness.
Okay.
And then we would follow that back, with some hamstring work, some calf work. We never did biceps. I should do them now.
Yeah.
Because we didn't feel like that was for an athletic, movement per
Yeah.
se. Yeah. And what he was doing. Now,
Right.
some of those football guys, they look like they do a little bicep.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay if you're not throwing a ball or whatever.
Right.
Not that you wouldn't work a little bit on it, but we didn't do a lot.
of it, yeah.
A lot of tricep work, a lot of, bench,
Yeah.
getting strong. And so I did that, and now I do what I call my old man exercise.
Okay.
Everything's versus the air. I squat versus the air.
Oh.
I do my toe raises versus the air.
Yeah.
I do the hamstring curls with
Oh.
with no weight,
Weight.
just versus the air.
Yeah.
Right, just to try to stay a little bit tight.
Right. So, it changes on how old you are and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Right.
Because I used to tell people all the time, like, I want to do curls. I'm like, for what reason?
Right.
For the girls on the beach? Well,
Yeah.
great. If that's what you want to do is go sit on the beach and look good, then do a bunch of curls. That
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Right.
But as an athlete, depending on what,
Yeah.
athletic thing you're doing in the position, probably doesn't make a lot of sense.
Made a lot of sense. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you. So, was there anything, that you'd like a story to tell or anything that, I didn't ask that you would like to tell the audience or share with the audience?
And specifically with family, friends? Or
Sorry, in specific with Health Physical.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a long night. I don't drink, but if I did, I had a few too many. I just think that no offense to all you what I call flat bills out there. Don't get mad at me, right? But I used to go up. These guys are huge, right?
Oh, yeah.
These guys are. And then I'd look at their legs, and I have pretty decent sized legs, and I would go, "Hey, I want to introduce you to the squat rack."
Oh, you mean where they do their curls?
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
There's only 2 squat racks in the whole building.
Yeah.
Right. There's 400 bars they can do curls with, but no, they want to go get the straight bar and hold. Yeah, those people. Hey, if you happen to see me out in public, we can have a chat about it. No problem. No, but that kind of stuff is fun. There was another guy in the gym. I've seen a bunch of guys like this, but they don't look like much.
Yeah.
And then you see him like bench or something, and you're like, that dude's freaking. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think there's the look of the physique of people, and then there's the people that don't look like anything.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that amaze me, that are just, they don't look like much, and then all of a sudden they're squatting, 600 pounds, and you're like, woo.
Right.
That's impressive,
That's
right?
impressive. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because anybody can shoot the needle and get big biceps,
Right.
probably.
Yeah, but
I'm probably not making a lot of fans out there with the flat bills. I apologize, flat bills. You can call me the curved bill. I don't care.
the old Bill.
Yeah, the old bill. Is that what they call it?
Well, that's what I call it.
Hey, but I got to go have sex with all of them.
There you go.
right?
Yep.
So sorry if I was offensive.
So moving into personal social, I think it's in the name. It's your personal time, probably, right?
Yeah.
So, how does that look? Is that a specific way, or is that just based on the person?
Yeah, I think it's a both and again.
Okay.
I don't think it's an either or. So again, I'm not the most social guy.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's funny because when I would consult up and down the state,
Yeah.
we had audience of thousands sometimes.
Okay.
And you're energetic and you're into it and
Yeah.
you're on go, baby.
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Almost like a performance.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You're there to be, and you're on.
Right.
It's you're getting on, baby.
Yeah.
I can't freaking throw a football anymore, so I got to get on the way I can get on. Right.
Yeah.
It's competitive. It's fun. It's all those different types of things.
Right.
And so, and then they would ask me, especially during consulting, because I'd spend like 12 weeks or sometimes 2 or 3 years with the leadership group of an after-school program or a business or whatever. And when I would tell them these things, they'd be like, "You're not the guy that's sitting in the corner that doesn't say anything." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm that guy."
Right.
Because all they saw was the on-stage person that's, animated and funny, and I hope I'm funny, but that's into it, and different things of that nature.
Right.
And that's really not me. I'm the guy that sits in the back corner of the party and observes and watches and keeps to myself, and so I'm a walking dichotomy.
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert and an introvert all in the same breath. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. It's I think that a lot of us probably are more like that than we give ourselves credit, though.
Yeah.
I think in certain situations when you're more comfortable with people,
Yeah.
you're an introvert.
Yeah.
And when you're out on your own and you become more of an extrovert, would you agree with that?
I would think it would be the opposite. I think the more comfortable you are, the more you would.
Oh, I said those the wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the concept is right. That's another thing I'd like to real quickly say to the audience, if you don't mind. I think a lot of times that people will go, it has to look this exact same, and it's like, no, just understand it conceptually. What you said conceptually, I believe, is right. You just flipped it.
Right.
Ooh, big deal.
Right.
But people get all flustered about that.
Yeah.
Red-faced, and they get the dots on their deal. I'm like, dude, I screw up. Let's see. Carry the one. About 4 billion times a day.
Right, and I'm 4 billion and one.
Yeah. And that is true. Right? But you know what I'm saying? And it's
Yeah.
like, just relax on that. So what was the question? I forgot.
So when you're with your family and people you're more of a, whatever that is, extrovert, I think.
With your, yeah, probably.
Right, and when you're out or with people you don't know and stuff, you're more of an introvert to yourself.
For me, I am, yeah.
Right, and for other people, it could be opposite.
That's exactly right.
Right,
That's exactly
we're
right.
all walking dichotomies, as you said.
Yeah, unfortunately, we probably are.
Yeah. Okay, so with personal social, I gotta know, because I know you work forever, and then I know you are getting 8 hours of sleep, so that maybe leaves you 30 minutes and you haven't showered, went to the restroom, brushed your teeth, anything like that. How do you spend your personal time, and what do you do?
Right now, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot with that. But I will tell you this, COVID has helped.
Okay.
So I was kind of a go to bed at 9 or 10. I'm an early bird.
Right. Okay.
Never have I been a night owl, right?
Yeah.
I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning.
Okay.
And I'm on. Like,
right.
I don't drink coffee. I'm on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm coming out the box, dude, going like, people are like, my wife, when she wakes up sometimes, I'm like, hey, what about this? She's like, dude, you've been up for 3 hours. I just woke up. And she's she needs her coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah. So, I think that, can you repeat that question?
I just said, what do you do for your personal time when I know there's not a lot? And you said COVID has helped.
Yeah, so COVID has helped. So my son has Netflix.
Okay.
And I love movies. I've always loved movies.
Yeah.
Always. That's always been my escape or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of great series on Netflix.
Okay.
And so I've probably watched, 30 or 40. But what I did with COVID is I flipped from being a early bird to a night owl. So I would work. Yeah, I would work from, let's say 8 in the morning until 9, 10, 11, 12 at night.
Yeah.
And then I knew I couldn't go directly to sleep because I would be all,
from work.
Yeah, so I said, what am I going to do? And so I would go watch that.
Gotcha.
And then during football season, I do all Sunday, I just be like,
I'm just gonna watch.
yeah, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
I'm watching the game. I play a lot of fantasy football, so I'm like, I want to win some money. I just want to win, right?
Yeah.
And so I do that. But I've really learned that for me, I care so much about my career material world, not the material side, but the career side, that I've kind of learned to merge those. So like when we go on, family trips, which would be part of personal, whatever.
Right.
I go out and try to pay for the trip. So my wife and my 2 kids are, laying out and trying to collect some sun. I'm going to the antique store, trying to find underpriced stuff. I've done eBay. I've collected my whole life. If you guys were able to see this room, I'm sure we'll show you. And my other room, and then we got 3,000. We got stuff, right? But that's what I would do. So I've learned to kind of be okay with the merging of those two.
Right.
And that's what I enjoy. I enjoy going and thrill the hunt, finding the $1 action figure.
Yeah.
And that I can either set on my, in my what do they call it? Man caves?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Right? My man cave, so to speak.
Yes.
And if I want to sell it, make $99, great. If I don't, I can look at it for a day, a week, or however long I want.
Until you want to sell it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So kind of like
And one more thing,
Yeah.
and that is a form of entertainment for me.
Oh.
The collectibles, I think. It's
Right.
kind of a personal,
yeah.
it's something I enjoy.
Joy, yeah. And so, I think we kind of run into another gray spot, right? Like you said, your personal and your career go together and you're okay with that.
Yeah.
And so, so I'm pretty sure there's people out there that don't realize that they've combined the two.
Yeah.
Right? And then they probably wind up hating their personal life because it's always career. So what would be your advice to them so they could, realize that, hey, I've merged these two. And if they want to separate it, great. If not, then be okay with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I've said it, I'll say it again. We need to give ourselves a break. And I'm very hard on myself. I'm hard on the people around me. I'm hard on my team. I have big lofty goals. I have high expectations.
Yeah.
But I don't beat myself up over it when I make mistakes, which again was, I don't know, 4 billion and he's 4 billion and one, whatever that number was.
Right.
Right. But I just keep moving forward. I had an old mentor of mine, I forget his exact saying, but it was like, stumble forward with ignorant enthusiasm.
Wow, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Stumble forward with ignorant enthusiasm.
Got it.
Right? And if we did that,
Yeah.
we're gonna eventually get there.
Yeah.
Now, I think if you have a system and you add it to that,
Yeah.
then it's gonna get you there quicker.
Right.
Right? And I'm into speed. I think all of society's into speed.
Yeah, especially because time goes by fast.
Yeah,
Realizing.
and think about how impatient we are. Not me, I'm very patient. But we expect to order at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And not only do we want to pay for it right there as we're ordering it,
Yeah.
right? We want to be able to drive up to the window, not stop,
Right. Just,
and have their hand out and perfect handoff, right?
Right. Yeah.
No fumbles,
No fumbles.
and we're out the door.
yeah.
And that's why the internet or texting, that's why people text.
Yeah, it's instant.
Versus phone calls. I'm a
Yeah.
caveman. I like to, get on
Yeah,
the phone. And they're like, all these young bucks, they're like, why are you calling me? Just wanted to say hi.
Right.
They're like,
Constant contact.
yeah. Give me the love on that. Yeah. So I just think that's all part of it.
Got it. And so, I'm going to grade up again. Well, first I want to ask a question. Opposites attract.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming your wife, since you had one good friend, she had multiple friends.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say like a ton and a ton.
Yeah.
I noticed like in today's era with social media, everybody's like, oh, that's my friend. That's my
Yeah.
friend. That's my friend. I'm like, just because it says, I got like, whatever, 5,000 friends on one of my Facebook accounts. I'm
Yeah.
like, I only know about like 4 of them, right?
Right.
They're not my friends. They're my acquaintances.
Yeah.
But either way, I think that she is, and she's a lot more social, and
Yeah.
she's into that. I like the way you say it. It's the teeter-totter effect.
Right.
And I'm a whack job,
Yeah.
and she's calm. You guys will know, those of you that all go to heaven, she'll be the one with the biggest crown and the most jewels. That'll be my wife. You can just walk up and say, hi, Susan.
So with her personal social time, she could spend that with her friends. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and that's what she does.
Okay.
Yeah, she will go. She has now talk about somebody that has a system,
Okay.
but hers is all informal, but it's there.
Okay. So it's an informal
Oh
system.
my goodness, this girl has her habits, rituals, custom, but I think we all do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just think that I've put it into a system that's helped, thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
And but man, she's habitual.
Gotcha.
She rolls in a certain way every day, and if you get her outside of that,
Yeah.
she's not super happy.
Okay.
But you would never know it because she'll just smile at you. It's the old the old saying of the passive aggressive.
Oh.
Yeah, the dog that's licking your face while he's pitching on your shirt.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, well, she doesn't too much, but yeah.
That's funny.
Bleep that out,
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's funny. So when it comes to personal social time can look different for a lot of people. Personal time can look just for me.
Yeah.
But you could also be social with and be other, so it depends on how you want to roll and how you want to do things, and that can change based off of how you feel that day. Is that correct?
How you feel that day, that moment in time, but I think there's a certain way that we roll, right? Habits, customs, whatever.
Yeah.
We're made the way that we're made, or we're conditioned the way we're conditioned, our environment, our DNA, our experiences, our, circumstances. All of that is a collection of things that make us who we are.
Right.
And so the question again is what? Are you okay with it? Is it based off of tradition and you're okay with it?
Right.
If you're okay with it, great, roll with it.
Right.
If you're not okay with it, then lift a pinky and try to change one thing.
Yeah.
And then change another thing. And then change another thing. And if you do that over the course of, a quarter or biannually or a year or whatever, there'll be some things that'll be changing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So now we're going to move to the meat of it. I think you spend a majority of your time, which is the career material.
Yes, sir.
So I read that you, I think, started your first job as a newspaper delivery boy at the age of like 7?
Yeah.
Yeah?
3.
3.
3.
Okay, so you've been working for about 50 years of your life now.
Pretty much.
And do you enjoy it? That's first where I'm going to start. Do you enjoy it?
I love it. I'll give you a story. So I had 3 paper routes when I was 7 or 8. I don't remember how old I was exactly. I'm not good at that. But and so this guy, this is how competitive I am. So this guy that I was delivering papers to stops me because, back in the day, you had to go and not only deliver the doggone paper, you had to go and collect the money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Right? So I was like, by the way, quit doing that. No, they don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's nice to meet you, Dinosaur.
Yeah. That's Mr. Dinosaur.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy's like, hey, I want that thing on my doorstep. I don't want it an inch left and an inch right, da-da-da-da. I was like, okay. So from that point forward, when he opened his door, the paper would fall into his house. Yeah, I make sure I placed it.
Right.
Right, because my competitive spirit was that way.
Right.
But I just loved helping people. And so even though he kind of ticked me off a little bit and my competitive spirit up, that's what he wanted.
Right.
And I even at a young age, because I think of my God lens and also because of my mom, I just realized that, I just want to help you.
Yeah.
Let me help you. So I just, even at a very young age, 7, 8, 9 years old, if I could get that thing to fall in, and man, he used to tip the heck out of me.
Right.
I don't remember what it was back then, but it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because I did that, because he knew that he got ornery with me.
Yeah.
And I went up and beyond the call of duty, to give that back.
Yeah.
But I also say, I've answered some questions on Quora before.
Oh, yeah.
And people will ask, and no offense, I mean, roll the way you roll.
Yeah.
But they would say, well, do you think I could go to school, and be an entrepreneur? And I'm like, dude, I've had at least 2 jobs since I've been, 5 years old.
Right.
At least 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. What I mean by that is I always had school. I count that as a job. That's an 8-hour job. And then I had my paper route.
Right.
And then other times I would, go around and do chores, for other people or do whatever. So I think to myself, like in college as an example, I was taking 20 units.
Okay.
Right? I was doing track full-time on a scholarship.
Okay.
I got up at 4 a.m. so that I could go do daycare for 2 kids for an hour and a half.
Okay.
Right? And I was in the process of finishing up my degree to get to my credential.
Right.
I was working 18 to 20 hours a day. No joke. There was no 8 hours of sleep.
Right. It was,
Yeah. I mean, it was top ramen. I used to drive a car like the Flintstones.
Yeah.
You could see through the bottom. It was one of those I forget what they call them, but it was like a 2-gear on the floor shift.
Wow.
It was like, it was a $400 car. I remember it. I remember I got it from one of my track buddies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Matter of fact,
real good buddy.
it was, hey, it worked.
Yeah.
Got me from 8. But anyway, just as a quick funny story, I'm going to practice and I get smacked, right?
Yeah.
So I got $3,500 from their insurance for a $400 car.
Wow.
I was like, I love this car.
Yeah, that's wind up being an investment.
Oh yeah, I was like, stock market has nothing on me, baby.
Man, that's funny. So I know that you said take ownership, and it looked like from a very young age you took ownership. Right?
I
That
did.
guy. So that's just always been in you. That's not something you learned.
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's genetics.
Okay.
I think it's your environment. I think it's your condition. conditioning.
Yeah.
I think if you throw God into the mix, I think that's a big deal.
Uh-huh.
Even at a young age. I mean, we weren't churchgoers all the time or different things. I just was very lucky to have God in my life early.
Yeah.
I used to ride my bike and I'd be praying. And,
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, you might want to pray when you're stationary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think that we're all a big collection of where we're at.
Yeah.
But I also think that we can make changes.
Right.
So who I was at 18 is way different than who I am now.
Yeah.
Everybody says, you would have, had this happen to you or this happen to you or this happen to you or different things of that nature, bad stuff.
Yeah.
And I was truly there.
Right.
I was rough. I had some challenges with certain situations that I wasn't happy with.
Okay.
Mainly because I was tiny.
Right.
How the heck are you supposed to be the best athlete in the world?
Right.
And you're 4'2" and weigh 3 pounds.
Right.
It's probably not going to happen, even if you're highly athletic.
Yeah.
So I just think that again, I just think we got to keep stumbling forward with ignorant enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We have to try to set systems, routines, customs, habits, and I think the holistic system can be great for you and anybody else.
Right.
And has been.
Yeah. Obviously, it's helped thousands upon thousands.
Yeah.
So you said you've been working for 50 years and you love it. Was there one job in particular that changed your mind to love working, or have you always had that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, it
Okay.
makes sense. But I think for me, environmentally, my mom, she came from a farm, and they worked 20 hours a day, and so
Yeah.
that's just what we knew. My dad came from a farm; that's what they knew.
Yeah.
We just knew work. I didn't love everything I did. I had real bad allergies. I mean, bad allergies.
Yeah.
And so I was the one that had to, be the gardener and do the weeds and stuff. And we, for some reason, we were middle class, but we had like a big lot with a lot of dirt and rose bush. I got cuts, scars, rose bushes and stuff. Yeah. And so I had to do that.
Oh,
and
you.
Yeah, my dad was pretty well a perfectionist, and so you should be able to eat off the ground, one of those types of deals.
Yeah.
And so I didn't love everything, but I learned that for me, it was a great avenue. It was a great arena, so to speak, for me to be able to help others.
Right.
And I loved that.
Yeah.
That was kind of, my life, and is continuing to be my life.
Right. So, I think it's safe to say that, obviously no one likes to work. Right. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Everybody but me.
Yeah. I think certain people like to work, but certain people also, don't like to work. They understand they need to work, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
What is tips, tricks, things that you've done to, trick yourself into working, or to, like what you're working or enjoy it, or, something like that? Is it just competition for you, or?
No, I think that's where it comes back to a God lens. If you read that Bible, it'll tell you that there's certain things that you must go through that you may not understand to get where you want to be. So if let's just say we take Moses.
Yeah.
Right. He's got it all.
Right.
Right. He's like the king's third guy. Here's his son. Here's his. Where else do you want to be?
Right.
Right. And then he had to go away for 40 years to learn some things.
Yeah.
And so I always, I'm not saying always, but fairly early on, I just realized that each thing that I was doing would somehow prepare me for the next step. But that was never my conscious level decision. That would be hindsight looking back. What I said was how can I help this person now?
Yeah.
How can I help this kid? How can I help this 80-year-old? How can I help? How can I help? How can I help? Whether that was in career material or anything else.
Yeah.
Right. I used to, back in the day, full on. Bakersfield's like 110 in the summer.
Yeah.
And we had, ladies that would, their tire would pop or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I go down and change the tire, and I thought about that later. I'd drive by and I'd see somebody, and I was like, man, I want to stop. I'm too busy, and I just kept going.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I used to stop.
Stop and do it.
Yeah, I just thought it was the right thing to do, right? And,
Yeah.
and I didn't do right things because they were right things. I did right things because it was in me to do that.
Yeah.
And whether that was partial DNA, which I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I know the God lens and especially with my mom, I know that was just in us.
Yeah.
That was really, conditioned in us.
Right.
Yeah.
So quick question, right thing to do into you said, is that something that can be taught, you think? I think that, I don't know if, you've said this before, but I've heard, we're selfish beings,
Yeah,
right?
unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Do you think that it is something that can be taught to do the right thing, or do you think that just comes natural for some people and it's not able to be taught?
Yeah, I think it's both and.
Okay.
Right? I think that anybody says, well, this is the way I am. Come on,
Right.
dude. No.
Yeah.
Because there's some things that I could say, well, that's just the way I am, and it's ugly.
Right.
Right? And I'm not saying that I've worked through all those things, but I've worked through a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But it's called work for a reason.
Yeah.
You got to work through these things, right?
Yes.
So I think that we're all naturally bent certain ways. Some people, so like faith, right?
Yeah.
My wife, she just has that in her. I don't have that in me as much as she does.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I can't have faith, and it doesn't mean that I can't get better at having faith.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, well, how do you do that? Well, again, begin with the end in mind. Reverse engineering, backwards planning. I used to tell people that would be the ongoing thing. What do you want? Well, let's start at the end of this and let's reverse engineer it or backwards plan, or I have a company system. Begin with the end in mind and then work your way backwards.
Yeah.
So this is what you want, or this is where you're at. This is what you want. What are the activities you can do to try to achieve ultimately that end?
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's a both and situation, and we've seen it over and over. I've got a good friend of one of my good buddies, and she came from, I think, 8 or 9 siblings, and I don't think any of them were all that great, but she wound up being great. So how is that? Why is that? Because she had a desire.
Yeah.
She had a desire to be great.
Yeah.
She had that work ethic and different things of that nature that helped her to move forward.
Right.
So I think that, in life, a lot of times we look at all these negative things that have happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
But again, lemons to lemonade. Do you turn the negatives into positive?
Right.
And I think the people that do that are the ones that are the most successful, the happiest. It's maybe not always easier,
Right.
but it can be easy sometimes, right? Because you're just continuing to go through with that.
Right. And so, I know you've helped thousands upon thousands of adults. You've helped almost, millions and millions of kids.
Yep.
For a lot of people, they'd be happy with that. They'd be ecstatic with that. But I know that you're not done yet.
No.
What is your goals in that?
So we want to be able to help 100 million youth, and we want to get to probably around 40 million adults. And so I shouldn't even say probably, that's the numbers.
Those are the numbers.
There's no probably. That's where we're at, right?
Wow.
And so with one of the businesses that I run is Consult for Kids, we primarily work with the adults who work with the kids in after-school programs.
Okay.
And we have every levels of systems to do that. So if you're at the tippy top, we can help you.
Got
Okay,
it.
we have what we call our executive track,
Yeah.
which is a leadership track.
Okay.
But it goes all the way down to middle management. We even do a JET, junior executive track, for the young kids. And then we have things that we call, the trilogy, the Nifty 9, the Fab 4, the Fantastic 5, the,
Right.
Elite, all these things. And so these are all systems that we developed over the years when we were teaching and doing after-school programs or businesses.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? And so we developed universal systems. You can plug anything into them,
Yeah.
right? And 3 years ago, I plugged 3 businesses in 1 year. 3 different businesses into the system, and we just ran the system. They were all profitable within 12 months.
Oh, wow.
And one of them we actually purchased. We didn't start it up. We just purchased it.
Purchased. Okay.
Yeah, and we took that business from, it was doing some stupid number like, I don't know, $1,000 a month or something. And we were able to get that up to almost $20,000 a month in less than 18 months. Yeah. Well, I think it was 18 months in the end.
Okay.
Yeah. I
But
count as
still.
a year because the first 6 months we were just trying to dig through trash to get to, whatever. But I just think that systems matter.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, that's my tagline.
Yeah.
Where systems matter, and
Yeah.
I think that there's. Look, I'm not the most talented guy around. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not any of those. Matter of fact, I'm far from those things. But when you have a nice system and you work at it and you go to work at it, then great things can happen no matter who you are.
Gotcha. And how do you keep that drive going? I mean, how do you, for 50 years you've been working, and now you have this, that's a big goal to help 100 million kids, and you're well on your way. And, 40 million adults. How do you keep that drive going?
I don't even think about it. It's not an option. Like, I don't even think like, oh, I need to keep my drive going. Yeah, of course I get tired and different things that I'll take a nap.
Right.
I don't care if I'm that tired. I'm gonna go take a nap.
Yeah.
You know, I'll take a nap in the middle of the doggone day. You know, I mean, if that's what I have to do. But for the most part, that's just not how I think. I just think that, you know what, here's the goal.
Yeah.
And guess what? When we get to 100 million, they'll probably go to 200 million.
Right.
Why not?
Because you and your mom just are always going to work. I know that she's like, what, 77 and works still.
Yeah, she works. She's retired, school teacher, principal, district administrator, all the above.
Yeah.
And she works more now
Then-
because she cares about people than she did when she was, well, probably not, but it's at least the same.
Same, yeah.
You can only work so many hours
Hours
a day, right?
Yeah. That is crazy. Man. So for, you know, like a young business owner or a young entrepreneur starting out, you know, you've been in that shoes before.
Yeah.
What is, you know, a key thing that stuck with you that, you know, you wish someone told you or someone did tell you that helped you get through that and push forward?
No one told me anything. I just plugged back into a system that we have.
Okay.
And so we have this system that we do, which is collecting data. And we do that in a very specific way.
Yeah.
And then we just say, what did we like, what did we dislike, and what are we undecided about?
Right.
And if we like, we celebrate. We high-five each other or whatever.
Yes.
Pop in a Jolly Rancher or whatever that is.
Yep.
Right? We celebrate. If it's something we dislike, we adjust.
Right.
Like, we'll think about it, but we just do something about it.
Yeah.
We're not going to sit there and analyze it for the next 500 years. You know, we're gonna analyze, figure out like what do you think? You know, the answer is always in the room.
Right.
So we'll ask 10, 20, 30, 50 people, or we'll send out a text, hey, we're having an issue here. What do you think? They'll go, turn the knob to the left, dummy. Oh, that's a good idea, right?
Yeah.
It could be as simple as that. But I believe the collective experience of people is way better than one person in a silo trying to go, this is exactly what we should do, and this is the way we should do it. And it's like, come on, man.
Right, and I believe there's actually a video out on that they can go view. Is that correct?
I think so. I think that the individual system, which is part of that. So some of the stuff is just universal.
Right.
That, you know, you just informally or formally you're just plugging into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should be out there in some chop ups of it.
Okay, awesome. And so my last question for career material before we move on to bonus questions that we've collected from people, and I had some few from here, so that'll be fun.
Scare me.
Yes. Was there anything that I didn't ask you about career material that you would like to share story-wise or anything like that for the audience?
No, I mean, yes. Okay. if you're going to twist my arm.
Yeah.
Look, I just think that for me, it was a great arena.
Yeah.
I saw my mom work her tail off. You know, it was probably already in my DNA, but, you know, I was able to witness this.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be able to do that. But here's the thing. The bottom line is that I walk around and I look at other people's caption.
Okay.
Like, what's going in your head as an interviewer, whatever you are, interviewer, right?
Yeah.
What's going on in your head and how can I make your life easier?
Right.
That's what I'm going to try to do.
Got
Right.
it.
And sometimes that comes out negative. So when somebody cuts me off, I think to myself, let me help you, right? Because if I don't help you, you might cut somebody off and kill them or kill yourself or whatever.
Right.
So I speed up and I drive up to him and I say, hey, knucklehead, right? Because sometimes teaching isn't always the nice way to teach. Sometimes you got to get into people's business.
Right.
And so I have a continuum of about 400 things that I can do.
Right.
And so that would be the main thing is that if career material is your world, then enjoy that. I know my wife said the other day, you know, people, they just like to talk to me. And she's busy, right? And she said, I have to stop. And I just need to talk to them because they need that from me.
Right.
So what is it that you're good at? What is it that you love? What is it that you're excited about? What about those things? And then just be okay with whatever that is. For me, the career material section works. For somebody else, it may be the spiritual religious. For somebody else, it may be the health physical to a crazy degree. The athletes or bodybuilders or different things like that. Yes, you flat bills, right? Or different things of that nature. And so I just think, you know, go with it. Let's not always look at the C's and D's and F's on the report card. Let's look at the A's as well.
Got it. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Now we're going to get into bonus round, okay?
Woof! Okay, I got to limber up for the bonus round.
So, first question, you talked about a mentor of yours.
Yes.
How many mentors would you say that you've had in your lifetime?
Just off the top of my head, I'd say 4 or 5.
Okay. And did you have one mentor, like from 0 to 10? Like, how did that break down?
So the number one mentor in my life was my mom.
Okay.
And obviously she was there from the beginning.
Yes. Yes.
And she'll be there till the end.
Right.
Right. And so that, and then I don't know if I technically classify my 6th grade teacher. Shout out to Mr. Panero. He doesn't know. I need to find him. I've said I was going to do that for years. I get busy, but maybe Mr. Panero, you're listening to it. He wasn't a mentor per se, where there was that, but he was important in my life. He was special. He was a cool dude, and he runs a garbage business, I believe, now in town. Very successful. Okay. But he just. I don't know. There's something about him.
That was your 6th grade teacher.
6th grade teacher,
okay.
Yeah, and he was my coach, and
got it.
I just really enjoyed and liked him. And then I believe it was my sophomore year or my junior year, Miss Lloyd. So I can't draw.
Okay.
Like, dude, I can't draw. No, I can't draw a stick figure.
Right. Okay.
Like, I'm an idiot, right? If you saw whatever I do, I'm sure there'll be a whiteboard one day or whatever. But I scribble. Right? You'll have 30 seconds in the huddle.
Right.
I coach a lot of basketball, so you're scribbling. And I was, I was a knucklehead, man. I was a troubled little guy.
Yeah.
And she knew this.
Uh-huh.
And man, I'll get teary-eyed thinking about this story. So she brought me in to be her aide. Her art aide. Yeah, and I can't draw nothing. Like, right, I can't even match.
You're gonna be grading people that you can't even do better than.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, right? Everybody's got
that looks pretty good. Right.
Yeah, and so she was special, and I'll tell you how special she was. Quick story. I believe it was like my 25th high school reunion.
Okay.
And I just thought she did this for me.
Right.
Right? She just loves, Brett Zandis, right? And so I was talking to one of my old buddies that I hadn't seen for 25 years.
Yeah.
Well, I coached his new wife's brother. Okay. He was on my football team. He was my quarterback.
Yeah.
And so somehow that came up.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, Nick, how's he doing? Everything, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's doing great, man. If it wasn't for Miss Lloyd." I went, "What? She didn't do this with me. This is what she did."
Right.
Because he was in a bad spot.
Yeah.
And she took him in. And it brings tears to your eyes.
Yeah.
So you know what I found out that night? No, this is no joke. Talk about God winks.
Yeah.
She was right up the street doing she was retiring, and they were doing a retirement dinner. I left my reunion. I went right up there. I stopped the whole dinner. There's 80 people looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And I just said, "Hey, I got to say something here."
Yeah.
And I told them the story.
Right.
Halfway in tears. It was mainly allergies, I think. But
yeah.
I had little tears. And she came up and gave me a big old hug. But I think, that's something to emulate.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what she did. And,
yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of high school teachers or teachers that aren't great and they don't do their job and they're just there for the paycheck and the summer's off. But then you have those who are the special ladies and special guys that, actually care.
Yeah. So when you see, Mr. Panero, Miss Lloyd, your mom all the way through.
Yeah.
And then my great business mentor, this guy was a stud. His name was Les Chalais. Mm-hmm. And he's got like 5,000 insurance agents or something now. But he was just system. This is his system, and that's how he ran it. So I would think I think that's 4, I said.
Yeah.
And there may have been, a couple others that escaped my brain.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jesus has been a huge mentor to me. Mm-hmm. So maybe those 5, I guess. Okay. But each one of them, they were more of the walking it versus the yapping.
Yapping it.
Yeah. I those people that like the yippity yap out there and not do anything, shame on you.
Gotcha. So this just brought up, another question.
Yeah.
So this is my question.
A double bonus?
Yes, a double bonus on that one. Would you say that a mentor comes into your life out of, I don't even know, like, you're not looking for a mentor, it just kind of happens? Like, I don't know how I would word that.
I call them God winks. I don't believe anything just happens.
Okay.
But I will say that I believe the mentee chooses the mentor in the end.
Okay.
Right? But I don't believe in happen chance. So my wife, me and my boy, we were, Rico Suave and who was the long hair guy? Fabio. Oh. You guys don't know that. Anyway, and so we had a mall in town. We had this huge these two huge fish tanks that were probably 40 yards by 30 yards
Oh, wow.
in the middle of the mall. And so you could sit up against them. And so me and my boy, I was telling you about Todd, we would check out all the girls in the summer going by, right?
Yeah.
So these three girls come up, two of which we knew,
Okay.
and then this other little girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're kind of talking to the two girls, but I'm too cool for school, you know, and I don't even look over. And I don't take one look at this gal.
Yeah.
Or at least she didn't think I did.
Yeah.
And so out of all the things you can say when you're 15 years old, as they walk off, I don't know her name. I don't know. She could be from Ireland. I have no idea who this person is. I said, I looked at my boy, I said, I'm going to marry her.
Wow.
And 40-something years later, either dated or married. I was 15, she was 13. We've been dating or married.
Ever since.
So anybody that tells me that there's stuff that's happened chance,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. And I also think that God or whatever your modus operandi will give you a bunch of those, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that he put Mr. Panero in my life,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason I wasn't willing to accept it,
Yeah.
then he would have put, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I believe that that's going to continue to happen until you finally latch on and go, oh,
This
you're
is-
my mentor, or you're going to be important in my life, or whatever the case may
Maybe.
be.
Gotcha. So I know that you said that you stayed up, you know, over COVID a lot and watched a lot of Netflix and different things like that.
Yeah.
What was your favorite series?
You know, I don't want to say because I would need a list of like 10 or 15 of them.
Okay.
But I like the adventure type ones. So
Okay.
Uda or whatever. Did you watch?
Last Kingdom.
Last Kingdom.
Uhtred.
I really like that one. Marco Polo I like.
Okay.
So I like different ones like that. But then I'm also a softie. Please don't tell anybody. I just got done with Virgin River.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was a really cool thing. Schitt's Creek, oh my goodness! And I'm not into that usually.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, oh, that's fluff and whatever. Like I'm gonna go to work, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, hey, special things come together.
Right.
Like the NFL, I think it's the morning show.
Yeah.
You know, with Kyle, certain things come together.
Right.
Hopefully we'll come together,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's just certain things that kind of are the yin and the yang and that flow together.
Yeah.
But I would say that I like those types of adventure, old school, whatevers. And if it has some historical reference, that's pretty cool too.
Cool too. Yeah.
And then I like the little softy, you know, stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then I know that you said that for your personal social time, it's movies. That's a big movie guy.
Movie, baby.
So I know this is a tough question, and you know, but what is your top 3 movies?
Rocky 1, Rocky 2, and Rocky 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so, but the Rocky series, that really resonated with me. I was, you know, tinier than everybody else. You know, I wanted to be somebody.
Yeah.
I was an underdog. That's how I, you know, viewed my life.
Yeah.
You know, and for that to come out at that time,
Yeah.
you know, it was like, man, talk about some allergies, right?
Right.
And you know, I'm sure that Mr. Stallone knows how many people that he's helped,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I told my wife that I would like to play that at our wedding.
Oh,
Like the theme song, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, no. I think it's reasonable,
Reasonable,
right?
yeah.
But, you know, I think that was definitely one. And then the other ones, there's been so many that really resonated with me. You know, one that I think we should all watch, I'm not saying it's my favorite movie, but was Crash.
Okay. Yeah.
And because it lets everybody know how tied together we are. If you watch that, it was like 5 or 6, 7 different, you know, silos of things that were going on. Somehow they're all connected. Yeah, you know, the whole, I don't like 6s, so I'll say 7 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, right? I try to live my life saying, you know, as much as I can, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And that's a saying that my mom and I, you know, speaking of her, that we both have, is we get to yes. Very rarely do we say no.
No. Yeah.
So don't ask me for anything,
Yeah.
right? But you know what I'm saying? Like we try to get the yes across the board, and we felt like, especially with dealing with so many youth, we have to.
Right.
Either I teach that little guy how to add 1 + 1, or I don't. There's no grade in that.
Yeah.
I either teach him he gets it, or that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I would not be okay with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, you know, we talked a little bit about you being a college athlete and, you know, want to always be the best athlete. So you spent a lot of time around athletes and
Sure.
probably some freaky people.
Freaky.
What is, so I'm going to ask you two questions. One, who was probably one of the freakiest people that you competed against or saw compete?
I didn't see this guy compete, but he came to practice with us when we were doing track. His name was Arnold.
Okay.
And he would have probably still hold the world record if he would have been about 6'5". I think he was like 5'10" or 5'11".
Oh.
And his brother was like 6'5". I think don't quote me on this, but he was like a state, shot putter, whatever.
Okay.
Well, this guy came out and threw the shot, and so I don't know if you've ever been to a track and field event before.
Yeah.
You as a decathlete, you're
yeah.
like 10 billion of them. But at the back of the shot put, they would have the railroad ties that are, at least, 2 feet by 2 feet and stretch the whole thing.
Yeah.
He threw over.
I think it was like 75 feet
Yeah.
away. I mean, that's,
Yeah, over the railroad ties. So I was like, that's impressive. But, I was too cool for school then
Yeah.
at 22 years of age. So then I watch him go into the weight room, and he's squatting. I forget the number, but it was a big number. And his nose just goes and blood everywhere. And he keeps squatting reps. And I'm like, that is freaky. And then later on, I found out that his brother was every bit as freaky as him. But instead of being 5'10" or 5'11", he's like 6'5" or 6'6". And I just think to myself, like, man, we had another guy, he was a professional athlete. I think he played for the Dolphins. Big old dude. But we used to laugh at, he couldn't dunk a basketball. And I could dunk a basketball even at 5'10". I had stupid hops.
Yeah.
If I could grip it. So, like, anything that I could grip, like a volleyball or whatever,
Right,
I could dunk it. I couldn't, my hands were too small for a basketball. And I couldn't get it, the alley-oop up there to get it ever.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't spend a lot of time with it because I think I would have got it, right? But anyway, this guy was like 6'5", and he was strong. I mean, he's a professional athlete.
Yeah.
So he's strong, and he could not dunk a basketball. And then one of my ex-agents, who's super great guy, super successful, played for the Chiefs. He didn't look like much, right?
Yeah.
And so I grabbed him one day. Shirts were always down to like here.
Oh, yeah.
I grabbed him. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was just built like a brick crap house, man. So, yeah, I've been fortunate. I used to go to my son's track meets, and one time I'm sandwiched in between an NFL punter and the world champion at 75 years old in the pole vault. He's a world champ.
Wow.
Right? And so I'm like, I can eat more Twinkies than you, right? I mean, how do you compete with that, right?
Yeah,
so I'm like, I can eat more Twinkies than you guys can.
Yeah.
Right? We all laugh.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I've been around a lot of amazing people. Been very, very fortunate to be around a lot of amazing people on CNN, professional athletes, people the best at what they do, and feel very blessed and fortunate to be able to do that, especially coming from a fairly small town.
Yeah. So my second question was, but I think I already know the answer, but I'll ask it anyways. What was the most impressive feat that you saw in the weight room? I guess it was the guy that squatted through a bloody nose.
Yeah, I mean, by far. But I'll tell you what, when I was a kid, I was so little, I was trying to find every advantage of system, so to speak. And so we went to this old school called weight, what do they call those facilities?
Like a...
Anyway,
tip of my tongue,
yeah, it's on the both. Anyway, where y'all left the weights, people, and it was old school, like with the chalk flying. Now you can't take the chalk in, or if you start doing like a clean or something, snatch a power lift, you can't do it in this section. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But anyway, this was old school, right? And so I heard that these guys were the best. I want to learn from the best, right?
Yeah.
And this guy, holy crap. I don't remember, it was like 5 something or whatever it was, and he's doing reps on it, and I'm thinking, I'm like, I can't even barely do the bar yet, right? And this guy's got, I don't know, he had so many plates on both sides that it was, it was bending the bar, and he was, pounding them out. Later on, I played golf with this guy, and I told him, hey, I was an admirer of yours, and he was Gold Gloves champ too.
Oh shit.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, if he hit you, I think if he would have tried to go professional, he would have really knocked out a few people. But anyway, shout out to all you UFC folks. That he said he had to know how good these guys were. And he was older.
Yeah.
He was probably 50ish at the time. but he's trained MMA and went and got into it. The guy on purpose, you like a same
Yeah,
deal.
yeah.
He said, when those guys grab you, you're done.
Yeah.
You know, and so
For someone to be that strong to say that, that'll tell you.
Yeah, and Golden Gloves champ. I mean, this guy could fight, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like some average guy on the street.
Yeah.
You know, and I think about that, and I'm like, there's some freaky dudes out there, man, that we just we can't comprehend.
Yeah. So I read this, but I want you to tell the story. So I believe it was when you were in high school at South High, and it was a shuttle race or something that happened between you and somebody.
Yeah.
So can you tell that story to the audience? Because I was one of the coolest stories I've ever read.
Yeah. So we had zero period, and where you're doing sit-ups, pull-ups, all this stuff, and we were gonna have a competition at the end of the year. I believe it was a national competition. I wound up not being able to go for some reason. I don't remember the whole story. So one of those things was the agility, where you start, like in a push-up position, and then you go around 4 hurdles, like, running track and field hurdles, and then you come back around. So zero period, nobody's there.
Right.
Well, we were doing this at the end, and me and this ex-professional athlete got into it, and he played for the Chiefs, and the guy that held the record. I used to admire this guy. I used to watch him play. He was freaky.
Really?
Right? Yeah. And so I wasn't big, but I had some athleticism. Like I was quick. Yeah. Very quick.
Right.
And so anyway, so I don't remember the exact numbers in the end, but it was like, he goes 14-9. I go 14-7. He goes 14-5. Well, all of a sudden, we're getting down, and we're trying to get into the 13s, and all of a sudden, there's about 200 people out there. The people had come, and everybody...
Oh, for school now?
Yeah.
First period, right.
Zero period became almost first period.
Yeah.
And so we went at it, and blah, 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 and in the end, I think I ran 13-9. And Tony, you got nothing on me, he couldn't get there. And so, hilariously speaking, so the 8th grade... group that I used to teach used to feed South High later.
Okay.
And so once a year we would take the 8th graders there, and they had said, they used to call me Z.
Yeah.
So they call me, or Coach Z. And we're walking through the PE room, and they go, Z. I'm like, what? Is that you? I looked up on the board, that record was still there. 2 records. Yeah. Sit-up record and that other record. But it was a heck of a time. You don't realize exactly what you're going through at the time. I will say this: there was a gal that did 150 bench push-ups in a row. She was a gymnast. She's real little. She's boom, boom, boom. We were like 143. We're like, geez, this gal's unbelievable. But anyway, that's the story, and I have, a lot of stories that I could tell, both, that I witnessed or that I was a part of or whatever, that are just. Yeah, it's just funny or freaky.
And before we move on to the question, I believe I also saw that your son went to school in junior high, and one of his teachers brought him in and was like, hey, your dad still holds the record to this day. Is that true?
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
It was a junior high record, and I don't remember what it was, but I remember back in the day we used to do, if you were whatever, you got a certain amount of points in these 5, or you get a gold stripe or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I kept those shorts, the gold stripe, for a while, and different things of that nature. But yeah, I did hear that story.
That's cool. So
I wasn't the greatest,
but
I was okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when it comes to working, what has been your favorite job? So before you became a business owner, before you became a teacher, an after-school leader, so I'd say from the time you were, 5 to 20.
Coaching. Yeah, I went back to my old, on a fluke, I went back to my old elementary, and there was a girls team. We want to coach the boys and all that. Yeah. And there was a girls team, and they told me they hadn't won a game in anything. Right? They hadn't won a game in baseball, which was softball, but, and then volleyball or basketball in 5 years. Not one game. And I go, well, that's going to change. Yeah. You hire me, that's going to change. So he took a chance on me, which, I was a knucklehead, but I was 18 years old. And so we went 7-3 in volleyball. And, because I treated them like athletes. I didn't treat them like girls. And I said, winning is that's not an option. That's an absolute. Yeah. Right? And then in basketball, we went undefeated. Yeah. Because I knew a lot about basketball. And so we did I don't know if you know anything about elementary girls basketball, but if you score like 18 points, you win.
Oh.
And so they had a gal that when we played in the championship game, that was good for 30 points a game. One gal. And she played up, I think, as a third grader, fourth grader, fifth grader, as a sixth grader. And here's a great story for everybody.
Oh, wow.
So we did what we call a box and one or triangle and one on this gal.
Uh-huh.
And the little fifth grader that I had, she could not play basketball at all, but she had two things going for her.
Yeah.
She was a soccer player, and so that helped her both physically and she could run forever, right? Yeah. And she would do whatever I told her to do.
Okay.
So those two things she had going for her. So I used to, in practice leading up to this, I played this girl that could score 30, and I made this girl defend me.
Okay.
And so I would rough her up. I mean, I didn't know like I should be.
Yeah.
Sorry, no lawsuits, but I would rough her up because I wanted to, teach her to be strong and tough and all of that. And so on the first huddle, on the first time, I won't even be able to say it. So on the first time out, I'm telling this is what we got to do. We got to do this. We were up by 2 at the time. I go, where's Jamie at? Well, I had told her. I said, you go wherever she goes. If she goes to the bathroom, you go with her, right? Like this. Yeah. So the girl's sitting down on the other bench, and she's guarding her. Yeah, she's in her face like this. And I go, Jamie, what are you doing? She goes, I'm figure coach. And so she walked back over. I was like, this girl's crazy, but that's what you need, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I didn't keep tracks on Jamie, but hopefully she's doing good, and she definitely had the mentality.
Yeah, yeah.
But what a great competitor, what a great kid.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
Is that right?
She full on. Yeah, she's like in her crouch and she's defending, and I'm like, well, at least she listens.
All right. So last bonus question.
Yeah.
If you were to write a book, an autobiography of yourself, what would the title be?
I don't know. I'm not. My brain gets going. I could go 50 different directions with that. Probably my forethought was take action. Right?
Yeah.
If I were to put a subtitle to that, systems matter.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I would have to really sit on that for a while. I try to be very thoughtful on stuff like that. I try to be thoughtful on everything.
Right.
But I would have to be fair as an answer coming from me. I think about it, but those would be the two things that kind of instantly came to mind.
Right. Well,
and love Jesus too. Yeah. Right.
You're making my job easy. Another perfect segue for me. Thank you. So as we're closing up on this, what are your final words? Even though I think you just said it. Take action.
Yeah. Right. I think that's the thing. And the bottom line is that we all have systems. You may call them habits. You may call them processes. You may call them procedures. You may call them custom. You call them whatever you want.
Right.
But the bottom line is we all have systems, a way of being, a way of doing, a way of whatever.
Yeah.
So I always just say, ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? Right? Does that tradition make sense? Or is it something that needs to, you need to move on from?
Right.
And I use an analogy of, there's a river and then a pond, call it pond 1, and then some more of the river, pond 2, some more of the river, pond 3.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times if you're fishing, that you're still in pond 1 and the fish have went upstream. They went to pond 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes, you go to pond 2 and you're just putting in fish everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You're getting your full catch. And then you stay there because that's the tradition you're used to when you should be moving upstream.
Yep.
Right? And so I think that with COVID in particular, we've all been forced to do things differently.
Yeah.
I'm saying no. Let's choose to do things differently. Let's not get forced. Let's choose to do that.
Yeah.
But you have to start asking yourself questions. Be inquisitive. Why do you shower the way that you shower? Why do you, even fun stuff like that, and that doesn't matter.
Right.
Does it matter if you do your underarms first or your hair or your butt? Or,
right.
It probably really doesn't matter.
Right.
But maybe it does. So as long as you know that you've examined that, live that self-examined, self-reflective life. That's what I chose early on. And, the road that's less traveled and all that. And it's not always easy.
No.
But if it was easy, everybody would do it, and that wouldn't make you.
Right.
So, I just say put those couple things together, and that would be my final thought.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I mean, it's a bunch of knowledge over here. You can see that he's done it all, from being an athlete to a coach to a teacher to an after-school professional to helping thousands upon thousands of adults, helping millions of kids, and he's well on his way to helping hundreds of millions of kids and 40 million adults. So stick around and see what he has to say. He's got a bunch to say. So we appreciate it, guys, and we'll see you next time.
And we can help you too.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
If you need to contact Brett or Coach, please do so on his social media accounts, email, and or text. You can find that information in the description below. Again, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Thanks, and we hope you enjoyed.
Good thing it was now.
Remember, everything's a free game. He can get us on everything.
Yeah, everything.
Just don't show my belly, Jesus.